So I happen to come across this clip that went viral, and it's on behalf of the tonight's conversation podcast. On this particular podcast that happened to once again go viral on behalf of this episode about a guest from the audience asking, is it insecure for a man to not want his woman to dress sexy? I would say, and based upon my perspective, I feel like if a woman happens to be married, she should only dress sexy, so to speak, right in front of her husband. Better yet, let me show the clip for more clarification. And once I finish showing the clip, I'm going to give some more of my 2 cents on this here topic. So first, let me share my screen.
If you're watching this video,
is it insecure of a man not to like or want you to dress sexy in order for you to be his wife?
what's sexy?
What I got on, like what I got on right now.
Oh, let me. I gotta get a good look at you. Let me see. Where your shirt at? Kitty, what do you think?
I think that sometimes some of y'all women really don't understand how territorial men are. It's different if you were covered up, but baby, you got tape on. So yes, of course, a man who knows how men are going to look at you, knowing that there's going to be men who are going to be predators or going to pursue you, he's right for saying that. That's not meaning that he's insecure. He's territorial. That's a man's nature, and that's absolutely okay. It's your responsibility as his woman to understand his nature and to also have boundaries with yourself, knowing what you are exposing yourself to. I'm going to say this. I'm going to be quick. I'm so glad I can have conversations with my husband because I asked him, we had a deep conversation. I said, what is it about women that will make you not wife her? And the first thing he said, the way she presents herself. That's coming from a man. Men will tell you that if you dress provocative, they're going to see you as an object. Stop calling men insecure. That is their God-given right to say, I don't want my woman to present herself out here because not only is she a representation of me, she's a representation of herself.
Now, let me mute turn down the volume some so I could prevent from hearing myself echo. I'm glad the person who happened to be one of the co-hosts, I believe her name would be Kitty, but don't quote me on that. Part of her stage name will be Kitty. Anyways, I'm glad she gave a female's perspective on if a man comes off as insecure, who doesn't like for his lady to be dressed too quote unquote sexy or inappropriate. You could also say provocative as well. And after seeing that audience member who had the nerve to ask that question, and to make matters even worse, had the nerve to come onto the podcast dressed half naked, and I'm assuming she came onto the show after being in a relationship in order for her to ask that question, first and foremost. Not only that, but it seemed like she was coming onto the show as a featured guest audience member just so she could be able to find her someone else. Maybe she's in a relationship already, whether she may be either dating or married. Now, if she's married, that's really a problem, because if she keeps on making a habit out of dressing the way she appeared on this show, the tonight's conversation podcast, then eventually her husband will get tired of her dressing that way out in public. And if he may happen to see so many guys while being out with her in public dressed that way, dressed so inappropriately, and men may happen to catch on to her, may start to approach her once she was to get out to herself while being with her man in public, eventually her husband gonna get tired of it and want to, and once again, I'm speaking from a hypothetical standpoint, he will eventually want to leave her for good, divorce her. And this is a perfect example of how, when no matter if women are in committed long-term relationships, even women with kids, because there's been times before when I would go to the grocery store and would see women dressed inappropriately while with their kids, small kids, at that, very small kids. This just goes to show you how once a hoe is always a hoe. How you could never turn a hoe or a freak into a housewife as the days goes, as the older days goes as well. Because once you do, then you're bound to ask for nothing but trouble. This is also after showing this TikTok reel of the sister who asked the question of how does a man come off as insecure if he doesn't prefer his woman to dress inappropriately, and I'm assuming inappropriately in public. Well, this is one reason why I would say, once again, how she came showing her flesh deliberately. That is, this is one of the main reasons why the divorce rate is at an all-time high, due to how so many women, when they do marry, they still are not through being promiscuous or being whores. On top of that, this also, after seeing the lady who asked the question after being dressed so inappropriately, I guarantee you that she may have a steady, or maybe when a man who she's in a steady relationship with, but yet and still she has so many other guys on the side. It's no guarantee about that. And due to the simple fact of how she's not ugly by a long shot. On top of that, I feel like, judging from my perspective, judging from a male's perspective, that is, to a male's perspective of how anytime you may choose to dress inappropriately as a woman, and you may have a man who you're in a long-term committed relationship with, especially, and let me reiterate, especially if you happen to be a married woman, you should only be allowed to dress inappropriately around no one but your husband. Your body should be sacred to no one but your husband, period, point blank. And this was just an excuse for this here lady who asked the question to just want to have the freedom to hoe around, to dress as inappropriately as possible while being in a long-term relationship at the same time as well. Personally, I feel like she should also just choose to be single, just continue to play the field, so to speak. If she wants to have, once again, have a man, whether it may be a boyfriend who she's been with for an extended period of time and is supposed to be in a committed relationship with, whether she may just be in a committed relationship with him, or even if she may be in a committed relationship with a man after not being married, but they might as well say they may be shacking up. And not only that, may happen to have kids, but she wants to still have the liberation to dress as inappropriately as possible while going out in public. She might as well choose to be a completely single woman without anybody to answer to. She may always make a habit out of going in public dressed the way she was dressed on this here podcast. And even if she's a married woman, which makes her look even more of what makes her come off as even more trashy, I would say. This is a prime example of how, now, when after seeing her, first and foremost, how pretty she is, on top of that, how she has a pretty nice shape. women like that of that magnitude aren't meant to be faithful to just one man. It's no way around it, because they have, anytime you come across a woman of that magnitude, fellas, they always are so arrogant to the point where they feel like they could get practically any man they want to, whenever they want to, could be able to be intimate with any man they want to, be able to connive and manipulate any man to get whatever they may want to, whenever they may want to as well. And this also reminds me of how the Bible even states how, for some of you Christian people, some of you people who follow the Bible quite often, it says in the first book of Timothy, the second chapter, of how all women should dress more modest. Although I know a lot of you women may not believe in doing that, may look at that as old fashioned, and due to how on social media apps, especially social media apps by the likes of Instagram and what else, Tinder, women are always showing flesh all day, every day, just going out of their ways to show themselves in such a trashy manner, to the point, so much to the point where it's hard to find a woman who believes in carrying herself in such a dignified manner as a woman, in such a classy manner as a woman. Anyways, because I already have said a mouthful, make sure to like, share, comment, last not least, subscribe. And until next time, I'm out.